I guess what was the inspiration besides what you talked about with the monologue you did? But where did you go? Hey, I want to start putting this thing American Soldier together, and then kind of go into a little bit what the American Soldier is about. I want to make sure our audience hears it.
Well, the American Soldier is a one-man show, and I've been doing it probably professionally touring around the country since 2000 and almost the end of 14, but really the beginning of 15. It's a one-man show. It's based off of letters from the American Revolution all the way through the recent conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan, and it's based on letters and actual stories from vets and their families. Because of 9/11, going backwards of London, I was really moved by, just like everybody, I was infused with a level of patriotism. And I've always been very patriotic. My father was very patriotic. As a kid, I remember him always watching World at War. I don't know if anybody knows that it was an old documentary, and he would watch that, and so I was always infused with a level of patriotism. I always loved America. It was instilled from my parents. But after 9/11, obviously those seeds really flourished after 9/11. They really came out. So I wanted to tell stories and give people a sincere appreciation for what vets were going through, because at that time, after about a year after 9/11 or 2 years, we were starting to get heavily into the Middle East, and some stories about guys coming back who were struggling. And as those stories started piling up, I started reading more stories about vets who couldn't pay their bills, who were having PTSD was just really starting to be noticed. The suicide rates haven't really been talked about yet, but they were starting. And there was a couple of stories that really they moved me, and I just thought, and the country was working so hard to move past 9/11, and everything. It felt like no one was really paying attention to the servicemen. And so I started. I said, I want to create a soldier play, and I want to remind everybody why Air America is so great, because I think we should realize that we've got people in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they're really struggling when they're coming back. So originally, I started really studying the revolution, and my idea was to tell the American Revolution story, so people can remember how we started, and let that, you know,
It was
be a catalyst or an inspiration for us to be, patriotic. But the more I dug into the revolution, I started digging into other wars, and I started going down rabbit holes, and I just fell, I really fell in love with the stories that I was finding. I would literally go to the New York Public Library and pull books out full of letters. You can, when you want to write a play about war, you can write it. I mean, you can go in many different directions. You can just stay on the revolution. You can write 10 plays. So, I just started collecting letters, and I started collecting stories, and it just came to a point where I had a bunch of stuff, and I eventually was able to put it all together and create the play. And the goal was really I really wanted people to have a sincere appreciation for what veterans were going through. That was really the goal. I wanted people to understand, like, when you see a serviceman, you should understand what sacrifice really means, and what thank you for your service really is.
Yeah, it's interesting that it planted that seed, and you recognize that, right? When someone thinks of Hollywood and thinks of actors, they think of moving project to project, big money, all the green rooms and all the fame and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's apparent you are a student of history. You're doing a lot of you're reading, you're thinking about stuff. It's not just what's my next project, what's my next script to review, that kind of stuff. We were talking a little bit before the show started. I mean, it seems you talked about starting with the Revolutionary War, which I thought was interesting because not obviously the current wars, global war and terror, have been kind of hot button and can be controversial, so not everyone can relate. But it's like, how could they not relate to a war that happened so long ago? They really don't have a connection to, but everyone knows about.
I didn't think the play would be very successful. I'll be honest with you. I mean, when I struggled so long to get it up, because I had these pile of letters
Right.
that I didn't know what to do with, and I was just like, what do I do with all these fucking letters, man? Like, and it's just, and I'll be honest, a lot of vets, I mean, even from the Revolution, they write about a lot of boring shit. They're within
Combat's pretty boring.
it is. It is.
It's like
Yeah, like
moments of excitement. The rest of it's pretty
that's
boring.
it. It's just like those little moments. So I would highlight those little moments, but there's a lot of boring stuff. Like in the Revolution, it would be a lot of guys talking about like shooting monkfish. Like I shot monkfish today. And a lot of them were illiterate, so the English was all broken up. Today I went monkfish. Tomorrow we go to Sally's. We eat monkfish. Tomorrow we march. So you had piles of that stuff. And then you got Joseph Plum's diary, and his stuff was just really, really beautiful. And you would just kind of like, you would look at it, and you would just kind of, you'd be like, wow, that's really passionate. That's really gorgeous. And you would keep that to the side. But then over time, I would talk to directors, and I would say, I want to turn this into a play. And they're like, what? Like, what do you want to do with all this fucking shit, man? And I said, I don't know, man. That's what's your job. Tell me what to do with it. And they're like, I don't know what to do with it. So
you had to find the nuggets in there of the things and kind of piece.
Yeah, it wasn't until I got a director, and a director basically said, listen, man. So I was so frustrated, Troy, that I grabbed all the paperwork, all the letters, and I threw it in the trash can. I was like, oh, fuck this. This is stupid, man. Because 9/11 happened. It was like 2008, 2009, and I was just carrying this shit over, and I was struggling, and no one knew what to do with it. My wife pulled it all out of the trash can, and she said, you're not throwing this away. And so I memorized one monologue, and I found one director who was referred to me, and I said, listen, let me pay you to perform a monologue, and I just want to let you know if I'm onto something. And it was a World War II monologue. It's the one I do about Iwo Jima. And he was like, wow, that's really cool. Where'd you get that from? And we went on talking about it. He goes, do you have any more? I go, yeah, I got plenty more. I got plenty more. He goes, well, let's see another one. And I did another one. And he's like, well, what do you want to do with this material? I said, I don't know. His name was Patrick Lillis, great director. He's well known for creating solo shows. And I said, I don't know. I like to turn this into a small play. It's just been a project. It's been an itch that I've been wanting to do. I like to turn this into a play. And I like to kind of just, get it off my chest and say I did it, and say that I try to tell a veteran story because I really care about the subject. So we worked together. We created 20 minutes. At one point, it had Shakespeare. It was very very guy heavy. It had a lot of revolutions, and Shakespeare talked about PTSD and Henry IV. The battle between Hotspur and Prince Hal. Hotspur has PTSD. Kate is people who don't know Henry V, it's in two parts. And part one is the battle between him and Prince Hal. And part two, the opening monologue, it's Hotspur. Kate's talking to Hotspur, and she's telling him, why won't you sleep? Why won't you come back? You don't smile anymore. You don't even look at me anymore. All I see you do is angry at night. And it's basically Kate saying, it's Shakespeare saying this guy's got PTSD.
Right, yeah.
This guy has battle scars. And so I did the play for like 4 people, and we took some feedback, and some of them said, I like this. This kind of sucks. That's not good. And anyway, we worked together, and my director said, the play's out of balance. We've got a lot of guys, it's a lot of revolutionary monologues. I don't know how much interested. Let's get rid of Shakespeare. I need you to do some more research. I need you to find me some women, some children. Right. We got to break it up. I was like, oh, fuck's sake, man. I don't want to do any more research, dude. I've been researching for so long. So anyhow, we did it. We put it all together, and I went back into my research, and I found letters and notes. And also at that time, Troy, people knew that I was on this mission, so they were sending me podcasts, sending me letters, books, and like everyone knew that this was like a huge mission for me. So we created it, and then I had a 25 minutes of a play, a 30 minutes of a play, and then he said, well, now my director said, well, go find a festival to perform in. And I said, okay. And so I couldn't find any festival. All the festivals told me no. No one wanted to hear, New York is very jaded. No one wanted to hear a war story, No one wanted to hear a veteran story. And I couldn't even get into a festival. So I really thought, well, I guess that those 5 people that I did the play for, that was it. Well, I had applied to a festival. In fact, on my Instagram, that picture that it's on my feed, that's the very first picture if I performed it for the festival. It's the Bowery Poetry Club. And this lady said, listen, someone dropped out of the festival. We have it's called a mano. It's 20 minutes. You have to be off book. Someone dropped out. It's on Memorial night. Do you want to step in? And I said, yeah, I'll step in. And she said, great. Okay. So, it
was on the night before Memorial Day or that night?
Yeah. Night before Memorial Day,
wow.
Memorial weekend.
Wow.
And it was like, Memorial's always on Monday, right? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So it was a Sunday, and no, it was Memorial night, man. It was Memorial night. I remember thinking it was Monday, and she goes, "Look, I'm not going to have many people in the audience. It's the festival's not doing really good." And I said, "That's okay. I just want to do it." So I was the first. It was 25 minutes me and 25 minutes somebody else. And I think the second play was about a girl not getting along with her father, and she gained a lot of weight. So like it was these two
Totally opposite.
completely opposite stories. And it was a rainy Monday night. I remember like in the afternoon it was raining and thinking, fuck man, I don't want to do this play, man. There's going to be no one in the audience. And as an actor, when you don't want to go do a play, no one else wants to go see a play. And so
It was almost kind of fitting because in the army we say if it ain't raining, you ain't training, right? So
really,
yeah,
really,
the only time we ever go out to the field, it's always raining. So I say if it ain't raining, you ain't training. So it kind of fits.
yeah. So I went and we went. I remember thinking, oh fuck, man, there's gonna be no one in this audience, and there wasn't. There was 8 people in the house. It was me, my director, the other girl, her director. I hired a photographer because I thought that was going to be it. So I hired a photographer, and those pictures on my Instagram feed of the first 2, and some other strange, some other strange soul who was there. 2 other souls that were there. I was like, thank God you were there. And I performed it, and nervous as shit, and I got a standing ovation. And it wasn't really the standing ovation that was really cool. It was that I felt the play had a voice. For the first time, I felt like the play was talking. Like I could feel the power of the play. And afterwards, it was very emotional with the audience, and that became the beginning of the Q&As. And a sister came up to me. She lost her brother in Afghanistan, and she was very emotional. And she said, "Listen, I hope you don't stop doing this because this is very important what you're doing, and I think you're onto something." That was the first time that my director thought, besides collecting the paycheck, maybe this guy's onto something, you know. And so he said, "You know what? I'm interested in working with you in this play. So let's meet next week and let's talk about it and let's really flush it out." So we did that. He jumped on board and we took it from 25 minutes to 45 minutes. Now it was much fuller. It was much more, had more depth. And I decided to take it to the Edinburgh Festival Fringe in Scotland, which is a big theater festival. It's like the Super Bowl of theater festivals.
In,
like
in Scotland.
shows in Scotland, yeah,
Yeah.
in Edinburgh. And there's like 3,500 shows there. And what happens is a lot of Broadway shows and a lot of West End shows from London, they go there to get their resume built, basically. They go there, they get reviews, and they come back straight from Scotland. We got 5 stars, 4 out of 5 stars, and they try to remind everyone, they're building the show's resume.
Right. They're trying to shop it out with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a great way. It's kind of a great way to kind of stretch your legs out and work out the kinks of the play. So I did it in Scotland. It was called The American Soldier. I was an American. My wife is Scottish, and I know Edinburgh really well. And I was a little nervous doing the play. But again, the play started speaking. And what I didn't really notice is the amount of vets and families of vets in Scotland, because they had also been serving in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Who have been struggling with PTSD and suicide. And after the play, so many mothers in tears were coming up to me and wanted to know more about the play. And the play took off, man. That's when the play took off. I got nominated for an Amnesty International Award. We sold out the last 2 weeks of the play. I got, great reviews, 4 out of 5 stars. The play did exponentially more than we ever thought that it would ever do. A friend of mine said, I had a friend from Houston who was working for a theater, and he said, "Why don't you bring it to Houston, man? I want you to bring the play to Houston. I think it'll do really well here." And that's where the play started touring. And since that 2015 in Bowery Poetry Club in New York for those 8 people, the play since then has performed I've been to 17 cities, 13 states. I've been at the Kennedy Center twice, the Library of Congress, American National Legion headquarters, New York Federal Reserve Bank, theaters and art centers and chocolate factories and West Point communities all over the country.